Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a clip of yet another person getting angry that they had to buy a second seat on a Southwest flight because they couldn't fit into one. This guy says he flies weekly and never has a problem, yet this last time he flew they made him buy a second seat and he's livid. With so many of these videos coming out lately, we could turn this into a series. In fact, I think we will, and this is already part 5. We're also going to be taking a look at a bonus clip of a fat activist that I've covered a few times in the past, talking about the Southwest situation, so be sure to stick around until the end. Before we proceed, please click the like button so that I may apply comb to mustache.
So I am at the Kansas City airport for my 6:30, 7 a.m. flight, checking my bags, right? And I was just checking in my bag at the priority lane because I fly priority. I fly all the time, right? A-list preferred, priority with everything else. Now, I understand Southwest changed their policy where, you know, if they feel like you might be big enough to need an extra seat, that they can ask you to pay for one. But I have never run into that.
Okay, but you did run into that today, I'm guessing.
Ever in my life. And just now, the lady at the counter had to go get her supervisor because they felt that I was too big to get on the plane without paying for 2 seats.
Okay, so you fly all the time, and this is the first time they're making you buy a second seat. Is this because they just changed the policy, or did you just stop fitting into one seat recently?
When I fly weekly and sit in my seat just fine, and the lady had the audacity to say, "I'm just concerned about the people sitting next to you."
What? She was concerned with the people sitting next to you? Wow, the audacity. Strike that. The gall.
For their comfortability. Well, what about my comfortability with the conversation having in front of all of these people?
You're more concerned with being embarrassed than spilling into somebody else's seat and making them uncomfortable? So, if you spill into somebody else's seat, yeah, that's a bummer. But what about my comfortability? I think he said comfortability, which is not a word, it's comfort. But either way, what about the comfort of the person whose seat you're spilling into?
About how you think I'm too big to fly, when keep in mind, I know I'm a hefty guy, but I've lost over 60 pounds since Christmas. I fit in the seat just fine.
Great job on your weight loss, dude. But apparently we're still spilling into the seat next to us, according to Southwest. This is another one of those cases where the person is actively losing weight, so I think they shouldn't be offended when Southwest makes them buy a second seat. If you're working on your weight and you're actively losing weight, you see that this issue is worth tackling.
I fit in the seat just fine. Everyone is comfortable. We're good, right? I have never run into this level of just pure audacity.
Strike that. Gall. Sorry, I'm going to keep referencing that. That's from a very old episode. The old school Cynical Dude viewers will get that reference.
In my life. And they even had the nerve to say that this is a return flight, and so they don't understand why this conversation hasn't had before.
Oh, they were like, the other Southwest agents should have made you buy a second seat way back when. We don't know why they didn't. Okay?
Why do you have to get your supervisor if this is a return flight?
They always get the supervisor involved. It takes some of the heat off the gate agent, you know? I'm guessing the supervisors make more for just that reason. They have to take the brunt of everything. The gate agent will be like, "Oh, I don't know, it's out of my hands. Let me go get the supervisor." Supervisor rolls up. Yep, unfortunately what they said is true. You're gonna have to buy a second seat. And then they have to take the brunt of the situation and get yelled at. I think that's all supervisor means anymore at Southwest. You're the guy that's gonna get yelled at when people get angry about having to buy a second seat. Dude, is your chest pierced? I just noticed this. This reminds me of when I used to joke around about how the piercings are getting out of control. I was like, dude, one day in the future, they're gonna be piercing like elbows and stuff, bro.
I obviously didn't have to pay for an extra seat here or on any of the other flights that I've had all year long. So the fact that they are willing to do this to a customer who flies this much is insane.
I love it when somebody goes somewhere frequently and thinks that entitles them to break the rules. They're like, I shop here all the time. Why can't I XYZ? You're not getting my business again. Like, just because you go there all the time means you don't have to follow the rules now?
Southwest, you need to start doing better.
And he wrapped it up with the classic, you need to do better. Alright, so that dude is livid that he had to buy a second seat on a Southwest flight. He says he's never had to buy one before, so why are they making him buy one now? It could be because the policy has recently changed. Before I said it could be because you just recently started spilling into somebody else's seat, but according to you, you've lost 60 pounds since Christmas. Great job with that, by the way. Back when you were larger, they weren't really enforcing this new policy yet. Now that you've lost weight, they have started enforcing this new policy. You're like, what the hell? I lost weight, and now you're making me buy a second seat. I'm guessing it's just because they started enforcing it recently. He actually made a follow-up video elaborating a little bit more on that situation. Let's take a look at it now.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
This is part 2 of my Southwest experience, flying home from Kansas City to Houston, and how we need to work on Southwest doing better, because Southwest, you need to do better.
How could they have done better? Just allowed you to spill into your neighbor's seat and ruin their comfort?
So, to answer a lot of the questions I have, yes, I got on that flight. No, I didn't pay for the extra seat because I advocated for myself.
What? So you're claiming they told you to buy a second seat and you're like, no, and they still let you on the plane. Cap. I'm calling cap right there, homie.
I had a lovely time with the person sitting next to me where both of us had plenty of space. And when I landed at 9:30 in the morning, I went straight to the salon, saw my clients, and went on about my day. So
how did you convince them that you did not need a second seat after they already told you that you did? I would love to hear what sort of Jedi mind tricks you used on them to convince them that you don't need a second seat.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, I've been on a weight loss journey for sure. And losing over 60 pounds in 12 weeks is no small feat. So to be...
No, that's a great job, but that doesn't have anything to do with the current situation. If I were 800 pounds and I lost weight to get down to 400 pounds and I still couldn't fit into the seat, I wouldn't be that shocked. I wouldn't be like, but I lost weight. Like, yeah, you did lose some weight, but you still can't fit into one seat, apparently. If we lose a significant amount of weight and we still can't fit into the seat, I guess that just shows that things were worse than we realized.
Blatantly fat shamed at the counter in front of people, even after all of that, when I never even needed an extra seat before, was just insane. I understand that there's a time and a place for some of these policies and some people might need certain accommodations, but the training needs to be better, the way they handle things need to be better, and they need to figure out how to do this without making people so ashamed and vulnerable and miserable in front of everyone else.
I'm guessing they were somewhat private with you, right? Hopefully they weren't yelling, "You need a second seat!" in front of everybody else loudly.
I've seen so many people in my comments saying that I am not the only one that they've seen this happen to, or I'm the first gentleman they've seen this happen to.
I have seen this happen to several people recently, and I've made videos about every single one, and I've got a couple more actually on the back burner ready to go for next week. These stories just don't stop rolling in. It's gold, baby!
So, you know, how they're choosing to discriminate against people just on the person's judgment at the moment, that really needs to be handled better. So
we need a test seat that people can go in and prove that they could fit into one seat so they don't have to pay for a second one.
Thank you all for the support and sharing the awareness. You know, I'm going to continue to fly because I fly for work all the time, but not going to be Southwest.
Well, if you don't fit into one seat, other airlines would make you buy a second one as well. So I don't know why we're crapping all over Southwest, like this is just their policy. Other airlines let you take up as many seats as you want. You don't have to pay for any of them. I don't know where we're getting that idea. Other airlines have a worse customer of size policy than Southwest. Southwest will reimburse you for the cost of that seat if the plane takes off and is not full and there's an empty seat in your same fare class.
Delta and United have been and always will be very accommodating.
No, they're not. Are they giving you a free extra seat? Or they just don't care if you fit into one seat or not?
So if you have any more questions, feel free to ask out. But again, Southwest, you really need to do better, because discrimination and fat shaming and just allowing your gate attendant or your baggage check attendant employees to throw their opinions out, especially when they're not warranted, is...
Well, it's not really their opinion. They have to look at everybody and make sure that everybody will fit into one seat. And if they think that they won't, they have to have that uncomfortable conversation with them. I feel bad for the people that work at Southwest. Most people are in denial about where they're at, like I've said. So when you tell them, hey, I think you're going to need to buy a second seat, just like this situation, you're going to start lashing out at them, getting angry at them, when they're just trying to do their job. Will somebody please consider the Southwest employees?
So incorrect. So thank you all again. Stay tuned. Talk to you later.
Okay, so he said Delta and United don't do that. You can spill into as many seats as you want on those airlines. He also said that they ended up not making him buy a second seat because he advocated for himself. I don't believe that at all. All of the other people in these stories also started arguing with the gate agents at Southwest, and it didn't make a difference. They were like, you gotta buy a second seat. So I don't really believe that you were able to talk them out of that, which adds a layer of strangeness to this story. Every single person that has had to buy a second seat tried to advocate for themselves, and Southwest didn't care and made them buy a second seat anyway. For some reason, when you do it, they're like, wait a minute, he's right. He doesn't need a second seat. What were we doing? We were out of our minds. Like, I don't think that's happening. And it sounds like they just started enforcing this policy recently, which is why you're just hearing of it for the first time. In the past, you were probably getting a free extra seat next to you, and they just weren't even mentioning it. And now you think you're entitled to it, and you're getting angry when they make you pay for it. But back when you were larger, their old customer of size policy was likely in effect, so you were getting a free extra seat and not even knowing about it. You've been getting free stuff for quite a while and you didn't even know it. How about that? Next. Now here's Mighty Murphin Fashion reacting to this situation. We've covered plenty of her videos in the past.
All right, so we got to talk about what's going on with Southwest, because
we do.
I have not seen one, but I have seen 3 videos in the last hour.
In the last hour, oh my gosh, this thing is really ramping up. This is part 5 of my people having to buy a second seat on a Southwest flight series.
Of people who have been having issues with Southwest's new lack of customer of size policy now.
It just changed, but you can still be reimbursed.
This was the first one I saw, followed by this one.
That was a good one too. She refused to pay.
And then this one.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. I'll have to go find that one. I've got a couple more, like I said, on the back burner for the future. I'll have to go find this one as well.
All with very similar stories. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I know that Samira also had a bad interaction with them over the last couple months. I forget where it was exactly.
I did not hear about that.
But let's talk about some history about Southwest. So I have been flying with Southwest for the last few years because they had a customer of size policy, which meant that if you were a larger person and you were worried about crowding on the person next to you, you could tell them when you showed up, hey, I want to quote unquote reserve the seat next to me. They would print you out a little thing. You could put it on the seat next to you, and therefore no one would sit next to you because they still had their open seating policy. You could also do this ahead of time by pre-purchasing the seat, and as long as the flight wasn't full, they would refund you afterward. As of, I believe, January 1st of 2026, they completely got rid of this policy because they were changing to no longer having open seating, they were having assigned seats. However, since this has changed, they have gotten rid of their customer of size policy, and they have also apparently, and from these people's experiences, have been eyeballing people at the counter and being like, we think you need to purchase an extra seat. Not even
Well, you were supposed to buy an extra seat yourself ahead of time. It says on their website, if you can't fit into one, buy a second one. And their new customer of size policy still has a chance for you to be reimbursed. As I've explained so many times, the new policy is if the flight takes off and there's an empty seat within your same fare class, Southwest will reimburse you for the purchase of that extra seat. So that's still pretty good.
Seeing if they're actually bothering people around them, and in fact, the third person said there were like 60-something open seats on her one flight and 59 open seats on the flight back, and they still made her purchase an extra seat.
Right, but will they reimburse her? See, you clearly didn't read the policy at all. It's a quick Google search to see what has changed. Did she try to get a reimbursement because there were empty seats in her same fare class? She could have. Still better than any other airline that I know of. I don't know of any other airline that does anything like that. I'm sick of all the Southwest hate in this house. There will be no more. Southwest is a great airline. Can I get free flyer miles for saying nice things? Southwest is dope, dude. Come on, Southwest, I'm right here. Fly the friendly skies. Choose Southwest, you idiot. So that's probably not what you want for your ad campaign.
And she even tried to just get an upgraded seat, so she only had to pay like $140, and they refused and made her spend an extra $800.
Woo, that's a lot of money, but you were supposed to buy that second seat ahead of time. Like I said, it actually tells you on their website. So all the people that are complaining about this just weren't prepared and didn't read the new rules. It clearly states you will have to buy a second seat if you don't fit into one. You're supposed to do that ahead of time. Every time you show up somewhere and you don't fit into one seat and you make the people that work at Southwest go through the awkward procedure of assessing you and making you buy a second one, that was all on you. You were supposed to actually buy a second one before you even got there. We either didn't read the rules or we just ignored them. Either way, they were clearly written.
On flights that were objectively pretty empty.
Yeah, they have to reimburse you later.
And I'm also going to point out the obvious, the fact that 2 of these women are black women, plus Samira, who had a bad experience. So primarily we're hearing stories from women and black women. Can we see how this is being used to potentially target certain demographics of people?
I've heard people of all different types have this policy enforced on them. So I don't know where you're trying to go with that, but I don't think that's accurate.
Because there is no actual standard for these things. You're just eyeballing people and being like,
The standard is if you look at somebody and you think that they won't fit into one seat, go up and ask them to buy a second one. I guess. Which is unfortunate, but what else is Southwest supposed to do? You are actually supposed to buy that second seat ahead of time yourself, like I said, to avoid this awkward situation. A lot of people are in absolute denial about where they are. So of course, when somebody tells them they need a second seat, they're going to be like, What are you talking about? I fit into the seat just fine. Everybody's in denial.
I think you need to pay an extra $400 to $800. And here's the problem. When we talk about how seats have shrunk on airlines since the 1980s, 4+ inches because of corporate greed.
I'm not sure where she's getting that information from. The information that I've looked up says the industry standard used to be 18.5 inches, and now Southwest and many other airlines are down to 17.1. That's nowhere near 4 inches.
And now, some airlines are implementing you having to tell them what your weight is, besides weighing your luggage and shit. It has nothing to do with safety, because that's what people go to. Oh, it's just safety. It's safety reasons.
It has nothing to do with safety. Southwest just wants to stick it to you.
No, corporate greed is what is causing them to shrink down seat sizes so they can fit more people on, which is causing them to have to weigh people, because you're not supposed to have that many freaking people on one plane.
Hey, they'll squeeze as many people as they can into one plane. They gotta make money, right?
The hatred for fat people just trumps everyone's cognitive abilities.
So Southwest just hates fat people. It's not that they were losing money hand over fist by giving out free seats or anything, and they had to start charging for them. They just hate larger people. That makes so much more sense. That's very rational. Corporations just hate people. Like, a corporation, first of all, has opinions on things, and some things it hates. This entity known as a corporation dislikes certain people. It has emotions, thoughts, and feelings just like a human being.
Yes. But what you don't realize is that larger seats benefit everyone.
I know it sucks to be packed in there like sardines, but they do that to make things cheaper. The more people we could fit onto one flight, the cheaper each ticket can be. When we get on a Southwest flight, United, Delta, whatever, we're splitting the cost of this airplane with all of these other people that are on the plane. The more people that are on the plane, the less it costs. If it were just me and you on this aircraft, our tickets would be like $50,000 each.
You would be more comfortable on a flight having a couple extra inches, even as a person who's an average size American.
Yes, of course it would be more comfortable, but it would also be more expensive.
And P.S., the average US woman is plus size. Southwest is out of their minds, the fact that they have done a complete 180 in less than a year. I have their credit card.
So you didn't read the new policy at all. Like, the policy has just changed a little bit. The possibility for reimbursement is still there. You think it doesn't exist at all. You think they're just going around targeting larger people.
And if I ever had an experience like this, I would drop it immediately. I don't have any upcoming flights, so I don't know what my experience would be, but like, this does not bode well for them. People are going to not give them their business anymore because of this. They're basically just committing corporate suicide.
Okay, well, they still have the best customer of size policy from what I've seen. Like I said repeatedly, they will still reimburse you if there's an empty seat on the flight that happens to be in your same fare class, which is better than any other airline. Like I also said, you were supposed to buy an extra seat ahead of time, according to their website. So if you show up to the airport and they make you buy a second one because you couldn't fit into one, that's kind of on you. You should have known that you wouldn't fit into one and bought the second one. So the guy from the original clip is outraged because he had to buy a second seat. He said he flies all the time and they've never made him do this before. Like I said, the policy recently changed. Also, I don't believe him when he says that they ended up not making him buy the second seat because he advocated for himself. Like I said, every single person that I've covered in the past who had to buy a second seat also argued with the Southwest employees, and it didn't make a difference at all. So what do you think of the clips that we just saw? Has Southwest gone too far by making people buy the second seat that they spill into? Leave a comment below. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. Anyway, that about does it. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.